Today I'm going to show you how to take this old t-shirt and turn it into a crop top with a ruched front. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the width of our top, and we're going to make a pattern for the ruched front part. So my width was 15 inches. Next we're going to measure the length of the top. So measure from the top of your armpit to the bottom of your underbust. Mine was 5 inches. So now we add that to the pattern for the length. So in all, mine is going to be 6 inches for the length, because we do 5 inches plus an inch for seam allowance, which will then equal 6 inches. Next, we are going to minus an inch from the bottom two sides to create tabs. So now we go up 2 inches. And after we go up 2 inches, we on the top part will go over 2 inches, because remember the 1 inch at the bottom, so now we go over another inch, which technically equals 2 inches, even though I only wrote 1 inch. So now you'll create the shape with the 2 tabs on the side. And so the final shape of this should, to get an overview, should kind of look like this. And don't forget the 2 tabs on the side, which we need for later to sew on the sides and back of the top. So now we're going to take our t-shirt and we are just going to cut across it to then get a rectangle piece to then cut out our pattern out of it. Now I measured the length for my top just 6 inches, and then I'm just going to mark out all the markings that we made for the pattern on the paper. And then it should look like this. Don't forget the side tabs, because those are very important. So draw it out, also the other side, and then cut out the whole pattern we just made on this fabric. And then it should look like this. So now we are going to sew the pieces of the front, but separately right now. We are going to do a basting stitch, which is a straight stitch set to the longest length, so we can then ruche it later. This is my sewing machine set to the straight stitch, and then I'm moving the length of it to the highest setting. I just finished doing the basting stitch for both. Now we are going to be ruching it, so take the bottom thread or the bobbin thread, which is on the bottom, and we're going to only pull the bottom threads on the left side and the right side of one piece of the top, pulling towards the center. You'll know when you cinch enough when it reaches from one side of your bust to the other. So make sure that both pieces of your front should be the same size. So ruche till they're both the same size. Now we're going to be making the strap, so take 1/2 inch to 1 inch piece of extra fabric on your t-shirt and pull it to make 2 straps. And you can tie the extra threads together. Now going to sew these 2 front pieces together, but before we do that, we have to insert the straps we just made into the middle of both of them, with right sides facing towards each other. Then insert the strap right in between the 2 top fabrics, and we're going to sew with a zigzag stitch from the left side all the way up, and not on the basting stitch but underneath it by 1/2 inch, sewing across with a zigzag stitch. This is my sewing machine again, and I'm doing the zigzag stitch, which is number 4 for me, and I'm just setting it to a setting I think that will work with my fabric. And now I'm just sewing. Just finished sewing all of that with a zigzag stitch, and it looks like this. Now you can flip it over after taking out the pins to see what it looks like. And this is what mine looks like. And then just mess around with it till you like what you see. And then these are the side pieces, the tabs, and they look like this. And this is the other one. We are going to do a basting stitch along the bottom just like we did on the top part, and then cinch it in just like we did the top by pulling towards the center the bobbin thread on the left and right side till it fits just underneath your bust. We are now going to take the bottom half with the t-shirt's original hem, and we are first going to start on the bottom part that goes underneath the ruched front of the top, and we need to make it the same width as the ruched front. And also take into account the length. For me, I need it to be about 4.5 inches, including seam allowance, which is about 1/2 inch. Because when we take the back piece and fold it over 1 inch and then sew it to get a nice hem, it is 4 inches. So now we'll take the front bottom part and place it on top of the ruched front part with right sides facing together. Recommending that you sew on the side where you can see all the ruffles, and match up the sides and sew not on the basting stitch again, but on top of it. And this is what it looks like after sewing the zigzag stitch. After sewing those two pieces together, flip it over and see if everything fits good and if you like the look of everything so far. Measure the front width part, mine was 13, and measure your waist because we are going to figure out the length we need for the back part. Mine is 28, so I'm going to take my waist measurement minus the front width length, and I get 17 minus 1 inch or 2 because t-shirt material is pretty stretchy and we want it to fit comfortably, and I ended up just subtracting 1 inch, and so I need to make my back part 16 inches. So I measured out my back part. Now we're going to make a nice hem for the top of the back part by folding over 1 inch and match up the sides with the front part to make sure everything looks good, make sure everything matches, and sew across with a zigzag stitch. I changed the setting on my machine to a bigger stitch so it wouldn't ruffle as much, but it's still a zigzag stitch. I just set the top one to 2 and then also 2 on the bottom. Now we need to sew the sides of the front and back piece together with right sides facing and sew along the sides with a zigzag stitch. And turn your shirt inside out just to get a good look at it. And the next thing we need to do is sew the straps, and that's it. On the back, I went over 3.5 inches for both of the straps and pinned them in place. We are going to sew the straps in 2 places on the top and bottom to ensure that they won't break. And just cut off the excess. And this is what everything looks like, and remember to cut off all the excess threads. Here it is. Super cute. A little bit longer too next time.